New twist to the outrage. Trump defended a $1.8 billion slush fund with taxpayer money to compensate his allies that he claims were wrong. And that includes January 6th rioters. And if that's not enough, part of that deal forbids the IRS from forever investigating him or his family.
In this clip, Isaiah Martin shuts down MAGA hypocrisy with one devastating comparison. Imagine if Barack Obama sued his own Department of Justice, dropped the case, then forced taxpayers to fund a $1.8 billion slush fund for his allies, including people who attacked police officers. The outrage would be instant. But when Donald Trump does it, MAGA calls it altruistic. This panel shows exactly why. There are no rules, no transparency, and no shame. It's a fund Trump controls for Trump allies, paid for by you. As always, we'll watch the full CNN_table for 5_ segment uninterrupted. Then I'll break down how Isaiah Martin exposes the double standard, why Emily Austin's defense collapses under basic logic, and what this says about the cost of blind loyalty to Trump. Let's get into it.
But for Donald Trump's political standing, it's hot as hell already. For the past 3 months, the president launched a war that's still going without an obvious end at this moment, sending gas prices through the roof. No state has had less than $4 a gallon 48 hours ago. Inflation is rising. Mortgage rates rose to the highest they've been in 9 months. Bond yields are the highest since before the financial crisis, and his poll numbers keep crashing. But all the president can seem to talk about over and over are the things like his arch, the reflecting pool, his marble walkway, and the ballroom, which he gave a tour of this week.
This is a gift to the United States of America. And more than a gift, it's going to be one of the most beautiful buildings that's ever been built in the country or in Washington, D.C. This is not for me. This is my gift to the United States of America.
When it comes to those gas prices mentioned, he doesn't think much of them.
This is peanuts, and I appreciate everybody putting up with it for a little while. It won't be much longer.
And this week introduced a new twist to the outrage. Trump defended a $1.8 billion slush fund with taxpayer money to compensate his allies that he claims were wrong. And that includes January 6th rioters. And if that's not enough, part of that deal forbids the IRS from forever investigating him or his family's taxes. Even conservative columnist Jonah Goldberg raised the idea of impeachment, saying by their definition, the founding fathers would have gotten rid of Trump long ago. I want to welcome everyone to the table. Thanks so much for being here, guys. It's interesting. We heard from Trump on Truth Social, where he was kind of congratulating himself. He said that he gave up a lot of money in allowing the just announced anti-weaponization fund to go forward. I could have settled my case, including the illegal release of my tax returns and the equally illegal break-in of Mar-a-Lago, for an absolute fortune. Instead, I am helping others who were so badly abused by an evil, corrupt, and weaponized Biden administration receive, at long last, justice. Alyssa, I'll start first with you. The president not backing down from this, and it seems like he's living in this reality right now, whereas there's the other reality for millions of Americans who are looking at this weekend with really high gas prices, really high grocery prices. The list can go on.
Well, and let's just look back to what started this. The president's tax returns were leaked. That shouldn't have happened. That was wrong. That was unethical. The gentleman who did that is serving 5 years in jail. It's not like there weren't consequences for those actions. But now this is money that was congressionally appropriated to the Internal Revenue Service that is going to be used for this, what I would say amounts to a slush fund, to go out to people who feel like they were victims of political weaponization. And that could include people who may have assaulted police officers, destroyed property at the Capitol. And I'd also remind you, those people, most of them already received blanket pardons from the president or commutations of their sentences. So many of these also went on to commit other crimes down the road. So this just comes at a moment when there are so many glaring signs of things the president should be focusing on, that the American people want him to focus on, and it feels deeply out of touch. I am still incredibly categorically bullish that this is never actually going to come to fruition.
The
There's
fund,
just
you
the
mean?
fund itself. Between Congress, this is just blatantly illegal. This has to go through a congressional appropriation. And if Congress doesn't find a way to block it, then I do think the courts will step in. We've seen him do it with Doge, with other times that funds were appropriated for something different and then redirected. So we'll see if it ever comes to life.
I mean, I would push back on that a little bit. What you call the slush fund, I find to call the anti-weaponization fund. And I'm sure on both sides of the aisle, we all have friends whose lives have been absolutely ruined, whether they were innocent. And you said that this is going to people who assaulted police officers on January 6th. It could, but the truth is we don't know where this money's going yet. And I feel like we're always prematurely just very negative when it comes to anything that President Trump wants to do. But I view this as something very altruistic. Trump did not take the money and put it in his pocket like he could have and like most people probably would have done. And instead, he wants to help those people who were absolutely destroyed by the weaponization of the government. I have friends who declared bankruptcy over proving they're innocent, that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, some millions, to avoid spending time in jail, and they don't get that money back. Why can't we help those people?
Well, therein lies the root of the problem. You just said the very simple fact that we're not going to know exactly who gets this money. I know that there was this testimony inside of the United States Congress in which they said that there's really no rules behind what's going to happen. So I think that it's absolutely absurd that there's going to be a fund that's $1.8 billion. We don't know where the money's going to go through.
Yes.
And honestly, we don't know if we'll ever know who the money's going to go to. You don't think that that's absurd, that
like
the
there's a lot of
President of the
question
United
marks.
States can create a fund and divvy payments to people and we don't know who the money goes to?
I mean, we know that it's going to people who have been weaponized by the government. Now, whether that
we
goes
don't
to,
know
like
who.
you said, January 6th protesters or people like James Comey, who I find is guilty, we don't know yet. So why don't we wait and
seriously
see
doubt the Trump
before
Justice
we are
Department is
outrageous?
going to give James Comey a payout for
an
wrongful
example. We don't
prosecution
know.
as they're trying to prosecute him. That doesn't seem
Well,
like
But
that
that
doesn't
is
mean
the
he's
root of the-
innocent,
that's
but he
the
can
root of the
apply.
issue.
Yeah,
Anyone
the
can
root of the
apply.
issue is that we will never know.
People in this country who have
Never
been
know
wronged
is
by the law have already
Well, that's what they said.
have legal pathways to seek justice for that. And you know, what you said, Trump could have just taken the money. No, he can't just take the money because we
was a
live in a
settlement.
yes, because I mean, for a lot.
I want to ask this question because, Emily, you were saying Trump didn't benefit. What about this piece, this other piece
Settlement
of this,
with himself.
About the, well,
That he
did
negotiated with himself.
Settle that.
He is the government.
But I want to
sued
ask about
himself
the IRS
and then
not
paid
being
himself
able
off.
to prosecute him or his family over taxes forever. What do you think about that?
Obviously, optically, it looks horrendous. I think anybody can
Because it is horrendous.
Anyone can admit that. But there's also an unprecedented amount of persecution when it comes to the Trump and the Trump family. There has never been a president that has been persecuted as much as Donald Trump,
Never been a
whether
president who
it's
did what he
illegally
did.
releasing his IRS, which I'm happy he's sitting 5 years in jail because that would never be tolerated under anyone else. But it's just the target on President Trump. Personally, it's outrageous.
Jeff Bezos also had his tax returns illegally released.
And that's
so should
also
he be
bad.
entitled to $2 billion? Where does this
He
stop?
should- if he wants
are we
to
gonna be
sue, he
saying,
absolutely has the
so
right
are we going to
to.
say that for every single person that they should all be
They have
entitled
the right
to
to
$2 billion?
sue,
But I also think
But none of them
whatever
or the
they
president of the
settle on.
United States can negotiate with
But them
themselves.
and the president, to me, have equal treatment. If Bezos wants
Equal
to sue,
treatment?
if
It's the
Bezos
president
wants to
of the
sue and
United
president
States
wants
that's
to sue, they
negotiating
have
his
been
own
wrong.
settlement.
Well, and let's
Clearly,
keep
there's
in
a
mind,
case
guys,
Go ahead,
getting the
Alyssa.
there is in this moment in the country, people are struggling. There is real financial and economic hardship right now. People's healthcare costs are going up, inflation, gas prices are between $5 and $6 a gallon. Is this the best use of government resources?
Yes,
I
of
don't
course
know
not.
any conservative who could argue that this is how we should be using this money.
I mean, I
here's
argue it goes back to the
and here's the
people.
context. This is a pattern of the President of the United States pilfering from the national coffers to serve his own political and personal ends. We have the Board of Peace, billions of dollars of taxpayer money without any congressional authorization or oversight. You know, you've got all of the stock trades that he's made, $750 million worth of stock trades on issues that he's adjudicating. This is a level of self-dealing and corruption that no one has seen before, and you have to view this slush fund in that context because
If there was
it's
ever-
obvious that he's doing it for political reasons and that the lawsuit against the IRS
and by
was a sham lawsuit that was never moving forward anyway.
I'm just
It
gonna
was
say
just
this.
a thinly veiled excuse
If
to
President-
pay off his own political
If President
benefactors.
Obama sued his own Department his own IRS and settled with himself, I guarantee you that you and every conservative on Fox would be running around screaming for impeachment. You guys would be trying to throw him in alligator Alcatraz.
Actually, one thing I will
That's
pat
what you would
myself
want.
on the back for is I know bipartisanly when something is wrong or not. I'm not the person that's like, oh, every Democrat's wrong and every Republican's right. That's something that you cannot
And a president
generalize.
negotiating
If that
with
happened
himself?
to Obama, by the way, anyone who's wronged, the law is the same, whether you're the president or not.
But
If
he's the
somebody
one that's
did leak
negotiating the
Obama's
settlement.
tax
Why can't
returns,
we-
he
He's
should
negotiating with himself.
we
No one
could
else has that
simply-
ability. You cannot compare him to other billionaires, to other people, to other
And other
people on
presidents
earth,
who have not
because
been as
he's the one that
persecuted as Donald
dictates the
Trump.
terms
You're right,
of his own
this never
settlement.
happened
If,
before.
if we could just get a commitment from the administration that not a single dollar would go to somebody who assaulted a police officer,
I agree
we
with
could
you.
begin a conversation. Maybe I still wouldn't support it, but some Republicans in the Senate might. But we couldn't even get that from the Deputy Attorney General.
Yeah,
A commitment
he
that
did not
leaders
say
of the
that.
Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers might not get $1 million settlements to then what, fund domestic terrorism?
And then, Alyssa, we also won't get the names of the people at all.
Correct.
So we'll never be able to verify anything.
There's not a lot of
There's
transparency.
a lot of questions around this, and we're going to talk about as we come back from the ballroom to the slush fund.
This isn't complicated. If Obama created a $1.8 billion taxpayer slush fund for his allies and banned the IRS from ever investigating him, Fox News would run impeachment specials 24/7. MAGA would be screaming treason and corruption. But because it's Trump, they call it justice. They want you to ignore the facts. No transparency, no rules, no oversight. A president cutting himself a check with your money to pay off loyalists, including January 6th rioters, and he carved out immunity for his own family's taxes forever. This is what authoritarianism looks like. Not strength, not patriotism, just grift. Emily Austin knows it. They all know it, but admitting it means the humiliation ritual ends, and MAGA can't survive without it. You tell me in the comments, if this was any other president, would we even be debating this? Like this video if you're done with the double standards. Subscribe for more unfiltered breakdowns. I'll see you in the next one.